B2B, B2C, or D2C, the consumer decision making has a periodicity. That in B2B, you take more time, more informed decisions because the risk involved is high.
Right.
In B2C, it is driven by your previous experience, uh, your instantaneous decision making, your consideration, and your brand recall. Because it is binary. D2C, it is a lot driven by B2C, also what you have been seeing around the internet. What is your impulse? What is your latent demand? Because that's more about click to cart and click to purchase. Therefore, the fundamentals have not changed. The consumer behavior has not changed between B2B, B2C, and D2C. Therefore, consumer neuromarketing or consumer neuroscience has its applicability in all three sectors.
Hi, welcome to the Digital Vigyaan podcast. Vigyaan is a Sanskrit term for science, and that's precisely what this podcast is all about, the science behind digital marketing. I'm your host, Dronacharya Dave, and I'm here to speak with experts from different domains of digital marketing as well as industry segments and learn their opinion on the ever changing landscape of digital marketing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of Digital Vigyaan podcast. While the first season was all about the role of AI and automation in digital marketing, in the second season, the attempt is to uncover the details around specific technologies helping reshape digital marketing. So, for the first episode of season 2, I decided to explore the unexplored yet intriguing territory of neuromarketing. And to discuss that, I was joined by Mr. Jalan, a marketing expert with close to 2 decades of experience in running and managing multiple digital marketing campaigns. He brings in deep expertise in mapping customer journey, sales channel integration, marketing technology implementation, and digital maturity. However, it is his special interest in consumer neuroscience and neuromarketing and how they can inform and improve marketing decisions and outcome is what prompted me to sit with him for this episode. Here's how the conversation unfolded.
Hi, Ramza. Welcome to the Digital Vigyaan podcast.
Good morning, Dronacharya. Hi.
Morning, sir.
Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you for
How?
having me on your podcast. Yeah.
So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I've been meaning to cover this particular topic for a very long time about neuromarketing, and like you can say that I'm probably someone who is really new to this particular term and really want to understand more about it. I'm sure there are many like me who would really like to understand this thing. So it's really nice to have you on the show, sir, today.
My pleasure. I hope I'll try to make it as interesting as possible for your listeners and for you also. So
Sure,
great.
sir. So, sir, to start with, I'm really interested to first understand what made you get into this, specification or specialization of neuromarketing, uh, and like then you can probably also highlight a little bit about what this concept is.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is it all
Yeah.
about?
Absolutely. So very interesting thing happened when I was working on a on a coffee brand a long time back. And if you remember, there was a very interesting test that happened in 2000, around 2000, where the blind test was between which is better, Coke or Pepsi, right? And their Coke fans were given a drink to have without saying the name on the label, and Pepsi fans were also given the same drink, and then there was some result. And that's where the neuromarketing started. And when I was going through that case study, looking at the videos, I really got thrilled that this human brain is so exciting. And I remember those days, my days in marketing, where we used to go to market research companies and get the questionnaires filled. All marketers must have gone through that phase. And what we realized is whatever feedback we used to get is in the moment. It's not coming from your subconscious mind. You're not the real you when you are answering those questionnaires. So there was a problem as a marketer, that how do you get the real insight out of a customer or a consumer? And that's when my search for uh, something more than a market research started. And I came across neuromarketing.
Great. Uh, so what is neuromarketing, sir? Like for example, if I'm someone who's
Mm.
completely a layman to this term, right? For me, how would you explain what is neuromarketing and why is it there altogether?
Great, Drona, you asked this question. So let me step back and answer a couple of more questions proactively. What is
Sure, sir.
First of all, what is neuroscience? You know, neuroscience is a hardcore field of science where we study nervous system, and we also study our brain. You know, the whole purpose of neuroscience is to understand how we think, how we feel, how we behave, how our sensory organs trigger an emotional and a cognitive response in our mind. Now, let's come to understand what is consumer neuroscience. Consumer neuroscience is when we apply the principles of neuroscience on to understand the consumer behavior. What we do is what we do. That's the truth. This phrase is true because there is inherent subconscious something in our mind. Then there is our past beliefs and experiences. There is something that what people around us tell us. And we look into the influence of brain and the decision to buy product. We'll dive deeper into particular aspect of consumer behavior using consumer neuroscience. Now come to your main question, what is neuromarketing? So neuromarketing is the subfield of consumer neuroscience, which focuses solely on applying the neuroscience techniques and principles and practices into the field of marketing. And what it does is it tries to understand how does the brand preference work? How do conversations and content work? How do decision making happen? What is the importance of color on our mind? How does smell impact us? How do we get influenced by sound? How do we get influenced by something we touch? For
Right.
example, you must have heard that, or you must have seen most of the luxury brands uh, give you a very heavy packaging, because when
Right.
you hold that packaging, you feel, oh, you're holding something precious. Morblack pen. I mean, on a daily basis, if I have to write Morblack pen, if somebody's writing notes, it's difficult because these pens are heavy. But when you hold it in your hand, you feel, oh, I'm
I'm
not
holding
using
a
that
yeah.
$1 pen, but a $500 pen. So
Yeah.
that's how neuromarketing works.
So AI, ML as such have been there. It's not like they're new. They've been there for almost a decade now. But the concept of generative AI is pretty new. So is it the
Correct.
same with neuromarketing as well? Like neuroscience
See,
have been there, but the concept of neuromarketing probably.
great question. So, see, how does neuroscience study happen? Neuroscience studies happen primarily using the fMRI machines, the EEG scanners,
Right.
the eye tracking devices. So, a lot of these techniques were used by the army, used by the doctors for treating people. Uh, Now, when we got access to human mind, we realized that, okay, while we are using the human mind for treating people or for war strategies or for conversation with humans, why can't we use it to offer better product and experience to the consumers? And that's where the trials started happening, you know. And there was a very interesting uh, thing that happened in 1906 when a professor Camillo Golgi started their study on the structure of the nervous system, and apparently, if I'm correct, he won a Nobel Prize for that. And that's where the entire study and deep insight into neuroscience started. Therefore, over centuries, I mean, over decades rather, brands started using it. I remember reading one of the GE early case studies where they used it for doctors, how a medical equipment should be designed.
Okay.
Coke, I already mentioned you. Then there
Yeah.
was a test that were done on monkeys because they have their brain construct is quite similar to we humans for selling cola brands or for selling apparel brands and assessing color impact. So neuroscience has been getting matured over last, I would say, 7 to 8 decades.
Okay. So I mean, it's been there, but probably has taken a backstage, not really in the forefront, right? So, is that a correct assessment?
Absolutely, absolutely, that's
Right.
right. I mean, uh, it's an expensive thing to do. It's not you can plan today and do tomorrow.
Right.
Therefore, you have to plan for it, budget for it, prepare for it. It's not your a simple analytics tool.
Yeah, I actually wanted to come on to that also because what I was also interested to understand was that is it a fair statement to make that neuromarketing is only applicable to traditional marketing methods like offline marketing, or is it applicable to the current stream of digital marketing campaigns as well? Because when we talk about a digital marketing campaign, then we've already had the traditional methods of understanding consumer behavior and consumer insights, like we have GA and other analytical tools through which are primarily used for these purposes only, to understand the search preferences, the buying patterns. So two things basically. One, is it only applicable to offline marketing only, or is it actually uh, very much applicable and required on digital marketing campaigns also? And if yes, then how does it differentiates from the conventional analytics that we use for the same purpose?
Okay, I'll explain that. Let's first understand the difference between the working of traditional data analytics and neuromarketing. So, our traditional data analytics, as you rightly said, whether it's GA or Omniture or any analytics tool, the metrics that we primarily use there is the open rates for emails, clicks, purchase history, behavioral data, user funnel, etc. And what is the method that we use to measure that? We use, statistical analysis or machine learning algorithms or computational techniques, primarily to understand traditional data analytics. And we try to assess it by correlation and trends, or what is causing a particular action, what is causing a particular a problem. That's the typical job of analytics, because we focus on what and when of consumer action, right? What happened, when happened, and how it happened, right? Now, let's now come to the limitation of it, right? This action can be influenced uh, by lot of reasons. You saw an ad, you somebody told you to go to the site, there was a need of a product in the house, etc., etc. But the analytics cannot reveal why was a particular choice made. You're getting my point, the difference, right? Why did I choose? So I was talking to someone, and somebody told me that on Amazon globally, there are 650 million products. So you can imagine, if I'm talking about buying a mobile phone on Amazon or a generic product like a kitchen equipment, then I have at least 50 options. And how do I choose one? Why do I choose a particular brand over other? Now, when I come to neuromarketing leverages your neurological and psychological data. For example, brain activity, your skin galvanizing, your EEG, data, where I know how is the neurotransmitter working in my brain. there is a very interesting thing in our brain called the amygdala. Amygdala is the emotional side of our brain. It understands what's happening emotionally when I'm interacting with something, when I'm talking to someone. So that's the data source. That's real what's happening inside our mind, right? So these insights into the emotional and cognitive factors that drive our purchase decision gives us the answers behind the why of consumer behavior. So neuromarketing is more focused and experimentative. Now, to answer to the last part of your question, uh, where does it fit for a marketer? Should the marketer need to use it? Certainly, it's a very important tool today, and neuromarketing can be leveraged in part. Today, you can use neuromarketing to assess the probabilistic performance of your creative. On Facebook and Google Ads, we have something called the ad fatigue score, ad relevance score, and the viewability score. These three scores in total gives me an analysis of, give me an insight into why my creative worked well and why not my creative worked well, right? That's how I attribute the performance of a creative. Now my neuroscience can sit on top of that and tell me, while your creative can have viewability, may have click, but will it lead to a consideration or not? Because for a marketer, consideration is nirvana, because after
Yeah.
consideration, there is a purchase. You
Yeah.
can't miss out on that, the ghost side of abandoned carts. So
Absolutely.
neuromarketing will give me view into my UI, my UX, my areas where people click, areas of the creative where people see. That analytics cannot do it. Analytics is post action, neuromarketing is pre action.
Right.
And therefore, in 3 points, I'll say the key differentiators will be the depth of insight, the actionability, and the cost and the scale.
Right. No, I think that makes a lot of sense because when we analyze any of our digital marketing campaigns, so obviously, like you mentioned, we have the what's, uh, how and when. That's something we can analyze, but it's the why basically.
Absolutely.
That's the thing that we really, and that's the main important part. That's what we really want to understand always, that okay, if something has worked, because like when we talk in digital marketing terms, if we talk about the A/B testing part that we keep doing, right? It's solely because of this, finding answers for this why, that why something worked. If for example, if a conversion happened, if someone filled a form or downloaded a report or subscribed to a newsletter, why did they do it for this particular piece of creative or content, and why not for the other one, right? So yeah, I think that really makes a lot of sense. uh,
Absolutely.
Moving on, sir, what I want to understand now is, in terms of marketing, it's customers basically. It's largely classified into either you know, your business model is either B2B or a B2C, right? And of course, we have a D2C segment as well, right? So, how does, or where does neuromarketing fits in these segments? Is it the same process for all the three kinds of segments, or does it differentiate, or is it just limited to one of these three?
Great question again. So let's first understand. See, the influence of neuromarketing is primarily on your decision making. Okay. Now, when I talk about decision making as a behavior, it is both analytical and emotional. Fundamentally, we believe in one thing in neuromarketing or neuroscience per se, is consumer hates taking decision, right?
Okay.
When you go into a cafe or a restaurant with your friends, you would see one friend telling the other, please decide, I am bad at deciding on the food.
Yeah.
The other person is saying, Okay, I'll go with others' preference. It's not they are trying to pass on the risk. They are trying to avoid taking any decision. And that's the fundamental part of neuromarketing or neuroscience, as I said. Now, B2B, B2C, or D2C, the consumer decision making has a periodicity. That in B2B, you take more time, more informed decision because the risk involved is high.
Right.
In B2C, it is driven by your previous experience, uh, your instantaneous decision making, your consideration, and your brand recall. Because it is binary. D2C, it is a lot driven by B2C, also what you have been seeing around the internet. What is your impulse? What is your latent demand? Because that's more about click to cart and click to purchase,
Right.
right? Because why I'm saying that for a D2C brand, I know it can be offline as well, but D2C emergence happened because of e-commerce online and online
Absolutely.
sales.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Therefore, the fundamentals have not changed. The consumer behavior has not changed between B2B, B2C, and D2C. Therefore, consumer neuromarketing or consumer neuroscience has its applicability in all three sectors. Like personally speaking, I have done consulting projects and experiments in neuromarketing and neuroscience for all the three sectors, both
Okay.
B2B, where we were talking about selling high-end machineries to global customers, talking about mm, systems that would be used where we are critical for defense. Second, experiments where we are selling a high-end SUV to customer before launch, how the ad should look, how the demonstration of the car should happen in a showroom. That's also where we tested the neuromarketing influence there. And D2C, we also saw the impact of neuromarketing in how you show a particular furniture, which is in the range of $10,000 to $15,000 online. A Japanese brand selling globally, majority of the customers in US, consumer behavior is different from Japan. How do you present your website to them? So
Right.
therefore, the applicability is across sectors.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, for neuromarketing you've worked for all three segments. Uh, that actually brings me to another question that uh, was there any one particular segment which was more complicated to work with, or do all each of them have their own easiness or challenges?
See, while neuromarketing sounds very starry, very interesting, that oh, I'm getting to look inside people's brain. That's always the feeling of knowing something which is not known. But it's a very tough field to work in because it's not that our human brain gives us information on data like Google Analytics. The data is in form of signals. The data is in the form of neurotransmitter, and the data that is generated in a very controlled environment, right? So there is a process. Since you have asked this question, let me tell you how does a typical uh, mind neuromarketing experiment starts. How does it work? So
Would
you
love to know that, sir.
typically great. So typically you identify the product first. You have a discussion that what is the problem about the product and what is the aspiration in the mind, because in any such analysis, there is something called a RAG, requirement, availability, and the gap, right? That's the first discovery we need to do when we first approach and decide to do an experiment. Second, what we do is we look at the traditional or as is decision making process. Okay. How is the current decision making happening, whether it's a B2B or a B2C or a D2C product? And after that, we also see that who are your consumer groups that are open for a conversation and this kind of experiment. You remember, I mean, in FMCG, we typically do studies like FGD, focus group discussion. where we call a group of our customers, have a
Yeah.
conversation, pep them up. Some great experiments have been done by T brand, to create awareness, social awareness in the market. Now, so then you get the focus group, and then you set up that entire lab. It's a small portable mobile lab where you set up systems, you set up computers, you set up eye tracking machines, you set up skin galvanizers. So one of the experiments I'll share, we were doing for a movie. Movie was about to be launched, and we needed to study whether the hero of that movie is creating enough impact. And movie was the film was going to be shot in a triple digit crore number, and the star was big. I can't reveal because there are NDAs. But
No, no, I
what
understand.
we did, we shot the director shot an hour of the content, put it in the edited format, and then we got a team of 40 people where to whom the movie was shown. The 1 hour content shot was shown, and the team comprised of different types of people across gender, across age group, across temperament, across location, across languages. And then when the movie started, we captured three things. One, we had EEG scanners where people have, and of course, people have to agree that they have to wear these
Yeah.
gadgets. It's not easy. You're wearing a gadget on your head that's beeping light,
Big,
and
yeah.
then you're wearing a plastic wrap around your finger, two fingers, which is assessing the sweat in your palm. And there is another thing that's tracking your eyesight on the screen, and that recording happens for 1 hour. And at the
Right.
back end, we are in a room where we are taking all the data points, recording it, and then we run it through systems to analyze probabilistically what this could mean.
Right.
So this is how a typical neuromarketing experience happens across different sectors. So therefore, it is not something that can give us instant results. It can happen in phases. So the entire B2B or B2C or D2C will have different methods, different timelines, and different outcomes for a given experiment.
Absolutely. But any one of these which you kind of probably enjoyed doing the most, or probably got stressed doing the most, anything like that?
It is very stressful, Rona, because a lot of time your experiments don't work. Data is nothing. I mean, there is no data typically
Right. In B2B,
in any category. I
in
mean,
any.
B2B, it's very difficult because you can't gauge how the output would be.
Yeah.
And in
So no,
B2B,
out
it's
of
it's
all
really
the
tough.
three,
Yeah,
out of all the okay, so B2B is, you think, is a little bit slightly tougher than the rest of the two.
it is, yeah, because you are the variation. See, in a B2B sale, the number of people involved in the decision making is huge. You have the
Right.
gatekeeper, you have the manager who is doing, then you have the product user, then the decision maker, the
Right.
approver. So five people. So you cannot have a common denominator whom I can impress and influence and recover.
Yeah, no, no, that's true, absolutely. Um, so the next part that I want to get into is something which, when we are discussing about digital marketing, especially in the current scenario these days, it just cannot, any digital marketing discussion is just not complete without the discussion on generative AI, right?
I
Uh,
knew that was coming. Yeah.
so it's unmissable these days. You just can't have a conversation on digital marketing and you not talk about generative AI. And as I said earlier during our conversation, that we all know that artificial intelligence is not a new concept. Machine learning is not a new concept. It's been there for a while. Yes, the concept of generative AI, that's something which has emerged as a new thing, which again, in my personal point of view, again is not a new thing, because there have been applications which were already there. Like if I talk about uh, content creation using generative AI, so maybe Chat GPT opened up the Pandora box and got all the hype, right? Created the buzz. But Jasper was already there. Copy.ai was already there. Writer plus was already there. So, but yeah, I mean, I get it. The buzzword these days is generative AI. Now, when we talk about generative AI, then it largely works on the large language model, right? The LLM model that it works on. What I wanted to understand is there a integration of neuromarketing in writing up these models as well to to make sure that these generative AI tools are performing to the performing to the level that they are expected to do, because obviously uh, the outcomes that we are getting, the usages that are happening is having a machine do the things for you while you are just giving some prompts that, okay, write this thing for me, or what is it that makes this thing happen, answering questions, whatever. So it's a machine that is based on some inputs, is giving you an entire output of result. uh, so does neuromarketing plays a role over there? Is it getting used in creating generative AI softwares applications as well?
Okay. So, to answer your question in short is no. I mean,
Oh, okay.
neuromarketing and generative AI are completely two distinct fields, but in one focus area. Both of these streams want to understand uh, the influence of human behavior and preferences on decision making, right?
Right.
What then generative AI does is they they generate information, analysis, content, image on the basis of uh, systems or patterns that have been trained by humans, okay, on existing data.
Right.
That's generative AI, right? Somebody has
Yeah.
OpenAI also when it launched, it said, okay, I'm there, I'm intelligent till September 2022, which meant that the LLM model has been trained up to September 2022 on, you know, trillions and trillions of data points. But in neuroscience, it is not that way. I mean, you don't train your system on a particular data. You train the system on the inferences. What I can say, the connect is, if I want to train the system, the generative AI or an LLM system on neuromarketing principles, is I would do lots and lots of neuromarketing experience, get the signals, draw inferences, and then feed that inference data and train machines that if this is the behavior, then this is the action. If this is the state of mind, then this is the action. So that inference I get from, I collect that data when I do neuroscience experiments. And when I draw inferences, I feed it into LLM model so that when you answer a question, like your goal could be, how do I personalize? How do I personalize the content? That's what Copy.ai has done, right? Sonic has done a lot of platforms. I want to understand what's the typical consumer journey in a particular sector, in a particular, say, for example, real estate. I want to know what the consumer buying behavior for a apartment which is more than 20 million, very luxury. So I can get that analysis of some previously trained data on generative AI. I want to understand what is the influence of product design and packaging. We study that, and then we draw as an influence. Then I want to understand what is the influence of a set of influencers on a particular brand proposition or a positioning. That generative AI can give me answers on the previously trained data, and neuromarketing could have fed that data on from the experimentation on 100 influencers in a particular category. So
Right.
both can work hand in gloves. One can feed data into another. Neuromarketing, neuroscience can feed data into generative AI, but they cannot be ever merged, and they will always remain parallel, and which is good for marketers, good for science, good for the ecosystem. When we see neuroscience and generative AI both coming together as a mainstream, that will make it very powerful, because neuromarketing gives us the why behind the consumer action. Whereas generative AI gives us the model potential future behaviors. Because generative AI, because of so much of learning, is able to predict that if past data or be consumer behavior is because of these XYZ reasons, potentially or probabilistically, generative AI will start prescribing the future behaviors could be ABC.
Yeah.
And that's where the entire consumer transformation will happen.
Which is
But I'm
actually,
scared.
yeah,
But I'm scared. I mean, if
it
we
is
are getting
scary.
so much depth into knowing everything, then what is left to be discovered?
And leaving so much, or probably rather I should say, giving so much authority and power to machines over human mind and human psychology, behavior could be very potentially threatening. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's why I'm
actually
seeing on a lighter note, the jokes on wife has been replaced by the jokes on AI because they know more than your wife now.
yeah. And that particular thing about, that one cannot really understand a woman, I think maybe in the future AI can. So
Fingers crossed.
that's also there. So before we end this one thing that I want to also understand from you, and it's a little bit controversial, right? Um, so when we talk about neuromarketing, neuroscience, and understanding the consumer behavior, the getting insights, like for example the case study you just highlighted about that entire movie experiment, where you had a team of people just to get the insights from their reactions. uh, a lot of talks also goes around the ethics, sticking to the ethics of marketing, using ethical marketing. um, is there a thin line or a thin ice neuromarketing is walking on following ethical marketing, or is it like fine and safe on the right side of it, and there is no issue with
See, I'm very happy that the neuroscience community is small, right?
it?
And I'm happy to say that the experts in the field have maintained the uh, the ethics around it. Yes, I understand. Getting into brain is not that is it sounds cool, but it's not that cool when you map it to a face and an identity. Therefore, today, that's what I've worked with more than 100, 100, more than 150 people who have been part of my neuromarketing experiments. But if you ask me to put a name or a contact to them, you will never have it, or anyone will not never have it,
Right,
because that's the ethics side of it.
right.
These folks trust me because we have a standing relationship, and they enjoy being part of that experiment and seeing what's happening in their brain themselves, right? And the very positive side, Rona, of this neuroscience is it is helping the medical science treat a lot of human stress, you know, mental health issues. You get to study why we do something and why we do it.
Right.
Therefore, I'm sure the professionals who are deep into this field will maintain that ethics. And see, you will understand as a marketer or a professional, it's in your hand. Where do you want to flip the switch? It's a very binary decision.
Right.
It's a tightrope, and it's upon that individual whether he wants to walk on the tightrope or trip over. So I can't alone give this answer. I can only say what I believe in, and what I want to believe in, and what I want to follow.
Right, right. No, absolutely. I 100% concur with that particular point.
Yeah. One
Because
last point, I would
yes,
I would urge people that please don't think that neuroscience is all about only science, right? We can apply the neuromarketing principle in our daily marketing needs. Like you mentioned, A/B testing.
Yeah.
I mean, A/B testing is the very, very basic level of testing consumer behavior.
Yeah.
There are various other experiments. You can do heat maps. You can do eyesight mapping on your creative. So that's what I'm trying to say. Your neuromarketing experiments need not be with always be with fMRI machines or skill analyzers or eye tracking devices. Eye tracking is basic. You need to do that. And like we did for the print ad. But you can do those small experiments in your office and get
Yeah.
great insights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we wrap up today, just one final question before I let you go. Uh, so yes, I mean, all these things are happening right now, but as we are witnessing today, how any technology, not just let's say our mobile technology, communication technology, or digital, consuming the kind of the ways of consuming content has moved on from print to digital, and other means of getting the content. Uh, so the point is that technology have evolved a lot over the years, right? You have seen the transformation happening. You have seen the evolution happening. For this particular concept, where do you see it going from here? Like today, where it is, and maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years down the line by 2030, for example, where do you see this thing evolving? Like we talked about a possibility of generative AI and neuromarketing integrating together, although wishing not to. Uh, but then there could be other things as well. So, what's your take on this? Where do you see it going?
See, I think neuroscience would get a lot of adoption in healthcare, health tech, and solving people problem, counseling, coaching, and I'm very happy that will happen. More and more people or professionals like you and me will get trained on how to use neuromarketing for solving real world problems, people problems. That's important also. The simplified science of side, as we call the citizen science, that's one. Second, more and more brands will understand the importance of giving the right experience to the people. I mean, it's no more about product. It's product is any product is a commodity unless it has the right experience and right ethics behind it. So more and more brands will start investing into neuromarketing and neuroscience experiments, and we as neuromarketing professionals will be happy to solve their brand and business problems. Right. Third, I see generative AI being very helpful with giving last mile insights to professionals who are asking the right questions on consumer behavior. Because I do a lot of conversation with generative AI and large language models, whether it's Bard or a Copilot or ChatGPT. Still, the consumer behavior related questions are not very deep, because
Right.
I'm sure there is a lot of data to be trained used for training on these machines, and the priority is not to train them on consumer behavior or the consumer psychology data. So as we proceed, the generative AI piece, the LLMs will be more trained on consumer behavior, because as millions and millions of people are using ChatGPT today, actually they are feeding the engine with a lot of insights of what
Right.
is our search pattern, what is that we are wanting to ask, and what is the
Right.
answer. Yeah, I mean, just to not to quote anyone, just to share with you that a simple interface like this chat gpt has got more than 100 points where it's analyzing your uh, behavior and patterns.
The kind of questions
If,
people are
yeah,
asking, the
as they
kind of
say, if something is free, then you are the product.
yeah, yeah, you are getting
Yeah.
experimented.
Yes, yes.
Great.
Future is
So
bright as long as we know how to control it.
right, right, agreed, 100%. Uh, so it was it was really nice to have you on Digital Vigyaan podcast today. I'm sure whoever is listening to you right now, they've got some good insights into the science behind neuromarketing, right? The science behind neuroscience, right? Um, and it was a pleasure, sir, having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank you so
for
much for having
sharing
me.
these insights and giving out your time.
My pleasure. Thank you. All the best for your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. If you like the podcast, please do subscribe to my channel on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast.